Have you ever looked at a small food and thought, how could something so tiny have such a big effect on my health? Chia seeds are one of those quiet little additions to your plate that promise a world of benefits. Fiber for your gut, omega-3 fats for your heart, protein for your muscles. They're in smoothies, sprinkled on yogurt, baked into muffins. The health world praises them as a miracle. But just because something is called a superfood does not mean it is safe for everyone. That is the truth I want to share with you. I am not here to frighten anyone. I am here to speak from experience. I have spent over 4 decades helping people understand their health, not just by looking at test results or reading labels, but by watching how food actually works inside a living, aging body. Especially in people over the age of 45, where the balance of the body becomes more delicate, more reactive, and more in need of personalized care. Chia seeds are not bad, but they are not for everyone. If your body is sensitive in certain ways, this innocent little seed can turn into a trigger. For example, if you have low blood pressure, chia seeds may cause it to drop too far. If you have trouble swallowing or a history of choking, dry chia seeds can become a serious hazard. If you have digestive issues like bloating, IBS, or constipation, chia seeds might make things worse instead of better. And for those with allergies to seeds like sesame or flax, there is a risk of cross-reactive allergy, which can be severe. Some men even need to be aware of a possible link between one type of fat in chia seeds and prostate health, a connection that deserves more attention. What makes this so important is that many people don't know. They add chia seeds thinking they are doing the right thing. They read an article, see a product label, and assume that more healthy foods means more health. But health is not built by popular trends. It is built by understanding your body. It is built by paying attention to how your system responds, not just to processed foods or sugar, but also to foods we assume are always safe. In this series, I am going to take you through 7 specific ways that chia seeds can affect your health for better or worse. And I will do it slowly, clearly, and with real-life examples. We will talk about what happens when chia seeds lower your blood pressure too much or when they swell up in your throat. We will explore the complex link between certain fats and prostate health. We will break down the digestive impact and how chia seeds behave inside your gut. And we will talk about allergies, inflammation, hydration, and everything in between. You may find that some of these issues sound very familiar. But before we dive in, let me offer a gentle reminder. This is not a replacement for medical advice. I am not your doctor. I am someone who has spent a lifetime observing what works, what backfires, and what needs caution, especially for people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. If you are on medication, have chronic conditions, or are managing complex symptoms, always speak to your healthcare provider before making changes. You deserve that attention. You deserve that care. Health is not about being perfect. It is about being aware. My goal is to help you understand your food choices, not to scare you away from them. Sometimes a food is healthy in one context and harmful in another. That is especially true after middle age, when the body changes more rapidly than most people realize. So, take a deep breath. Let's walk through this together. One seed, one insight at a time. If you have ever been told you have low blood pressure, you might have felt relieved. After all, isn't that supposed to be a good thing? Doctors often warn about high blood pressure, the silent killer that leads to strokes and heart attacks. But what many people do not realize is that low blood pressure, or hypotension, comes with its own set of problems. And chia seeds, though popular and praised, might make that condition worse without you even knowing why. Let's look at how it works. Chia seeds are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, particularly a type called alpha-linolenic acid. These fats are well known for supporting heart health. They reduce inflammation and help blood vessels relax. In someone with high blood pressure, this can be very helpful. But in someone with low blood pressure, these same effects can become risky. When blood vessels relax too much, pressure drops even further. The result? Dizziness, weakness, blurry vision, and sometimes even fainting. I've seen patients stand up from their chair only to feel the room spin and their knees buckle. And when they traced it back, they realized they had recently increased their chia seed intake, thinking it was helping. Now imagine adding chia seeds to your diet while already taking medication for blood pressure or heart issues. Many of these medications are designed to lower pressure or relax blood vessels. When chia seeds are added on top of that, the drop can be more than your body can manage. That's when trouble begins. I have known older adults who ended up in the emergency room because of a combination of medication and what they thought was just a harmless seed. They felt lightheaded, collapsed, or experienced confusion, all because their blood pressure fell too low for their organs to get enough oxygen. Another factor we must talk about is magnesium. Chia seeds are naturally high in magnesium, which is good in most cases. It supports muscle function, heart rhythm, and nerve health. But just like omega-3s, magnesium also relaxes blood vessels. Too much of it can slow down circulation and drop your energy levels. You may feel more tired, foggy, or even emotionally flat. If your blood pressure is already low, magnesium can tip the balance even more. This is not to say that chia seeds are dangerous for everyone, but they can be problematic for people who already live on the edge of low blood pressure. If you notice that you get dizzy when standing, if your hands feel cold often, or if your heartbeat feels slow and heavy, these could be signs that your pressure is already low. Adding chia seeds in large amounts may make things worse. So what can you do? First, be aware of your blood pressure. Not just once at the doctor's office, but how it behaves throughout the day. Keep a journal. Note how you feel after certain meals. Second, introduce chia seeds slowly. Don't go from 0 to 2 tablespoons overnight, and never eat them dry. Always soak them fully, because the gel they create slows down absorption and may reduce the sharpness of their effects. Lastly, talk to your doctor. Bring up your chia seed use. You might be surprised how many professionals overlook the impact of supplements and natural foods on blood pressure. But your voice matters, and your experience is the best guide. Remember, there is no shame in needing to avoid a health trend. True health is not about doing what everyone else does. It's about doing what helps your own body feel steady, safe, and supported. In the case of chia seeds and blood pressure, lower isn't always better. Let me take you back to a story I still remember clearly. It was a calm afternoon when I got a call from a woman in her late 60s. She had started a new morning routine: warm lemon water, a short walk, and a tablespoon of chia seeds swallowed dry, followed by a glass of water. She said it made her feel full, kept her digestion moving, and was something her daughter had recommended after reading a health blog. That morning, though, something went wrong. She swallowed the dry seeds too quickly, then drank her water. Within seconds, she felt pressure in her throat, then panic. The seeds had begun to swell inside her esophagus. She was alone and struggled to breathe. It was terrifying. You see, chia seeds are not like other seeds. When they come into contact with liquid, they absorb it rapidly, sometimes up to 12 times their own weight. That means if you eat them dry and then take a sip of water, those seeds begin to expand, not in your stomach, but right there in your throat. And for someone who already has any kind of swallowing issue, this can lead to a serious blockage. It might surprise you how many adults, especially as they age, develop subtle problems with swallowing. You may not even notice it at first. Food feels slower to go down. Pills get stuck more often. You find yourself clearing your throat a little more than usual. All of this can point to a weakening of the muscles that guide food from your mouth to your stomach. Conditions like dysphagia, which is the medical term for difficulty swallowing, become more common as we age. And for those dealing with acid reflux, dry mouth, or muscle disorders, the risk grows higher. What makes chia seeds particularly risky is their texture and behavior. When soaked, they turn into a gel that's slippery and easy to handle. But when dry, they are small, sticky, and hungry for moisture. This means they can begin to expand in tight spaces, sticking to the walls of your throat, even clumping together in pockets of saliva. If they do not move smoothly, you are left coughing, gasping, or worse. In extreme cases, people have had to be hospitalized and have the mass removed. Now, does this mean chia seeds should be avoided by everyone? Not at all, but they should be respected. Just like you would not swallow a spoonful of dry oats or a handful of dry rice without cooking them, chia seeds demand preparation. They need to be soaked fully before entering your mouth, not just 5 minutes, but at least 15 or 20, depending on the amount. This allows them to expand before you swallow them, not after. You can soak them in water, milk, juice, or any liquid that softens them completely. When they become gelatinous, that is your sign they are ready. People often add soaked chia seeds to smoothies, oatmeal, or yogurt, and that is a smart move. These foods already provide moisture, so the seeds are less likely to pull fluid from your mouth or throat. But even then, you have to chew slowly and stay aware of your body. Eating too fast, not drinking enough water during meals, or swallowing in large gulps can still present a challenge if your body is already vulnerable. The choking risk is even higher for children and older adults. I always advise families to avoid giving dry chia seeds to anyone under the age of 10 or over the age of 65 without first soaking them. Our reflexes change with age. Our awareness of our own swallowing changes. Something as simple as eating should never become dangerous, but it can if we do not adjust to what our body can and cannot do. So ask yourself this: do I sometimes feel like food gets stuck? Do I take multiple tries to swallow pills? Do I drink water just to help food go down? If any of these sound familiar, chia seeds must be handled with care. They are not bad. They just require mindfulness. And that, after all, is the heart of healthy living, listening to our body, noticing how it changes, and choosing foods not just for their benefits, but for their safety. I always say, a health habit that causes harm is not healthy. So before you jump on the latest food trend, pause. Ask yourself if it matches your real, living body, not just the one you had at 30. Because sometimes, it's not the big dangers that catch us. It's the tiny seeds we don't prepare for. There's a quiet conversation that happens in doctors' offices across the country. A man walks in, maybe in his 50s or 60s, and brings up a concern that's been in the back of his mind. His PSA levels have been changing, or he's had a family member diagnosed with prostate cancer. Maybe he's not sleeping as well, or his energy feels different. At some point, diet comes into the discussion. And these days, more and more men are asking about chia seeds. It's not surprising. Chia seeds have earned a reputation as a heart-healthy superfood. They are rich in fiber, loaded with omega-3 fatty acids, and easy to add to smoothies or oatmeal. One of their key nutrients is something called alpha-linolenic acid, or ALA for short. ALA is a plant-based omega-3, and it has been widely praised for its anti-inflammatory benefits. But for men, especially those concerned about prostate health, there is something important to understand. ALA is not the same as the omega-3s found in fish like salmon or sardines. Those types, called EPA and DHA, are directly used by the body. ALA, on the other hand, must be converted into EPA and DHA through a process that is, frankly, not very efficient. In fact, most ALA stays as ALA. That means it behaves differently in the body. And over the years, several studies have raised concerns that too much ALA might be linked to a higher risk of prostate problems. Now, to be clear, research in this area is still evolving. Some studies show a connection between high ALA intake and aggressive forms of prostate cancer, while others do not. But when you've spent decades listening to real men with real concerns, you learn to pay attention to patterns. And one of those patterns is that the type and source of fat in a man's diet can influence his hormones. That matters, especially when we're talking about testosterone and its more potent cousin, DHT. DHT, or dihydrotestosterone, plays a big role in how prostate cells grow. Higher levels of DHT have been linked to enlarged prostate and potentially to cancer progression. Some researchers believe that high ALA intake might influence how the body handles testosterone, nudging it toward producing more DHT. That's not something to panic about, but it is something to be aware of. Because when we eat chia seeds every day, thinking they are only good for our heart, we may not be considering their hormonal ripple effects. If you're a man over 50 and you're taking steps to stay healthy, you deserve to know the whole picture. That means not just looking at what a food adds to your life, but what it might also stir up beneath the surface. If prostate cancer runs in your family, or if you've had changes in your hormone levels, it may be worth asking your doctor or dietitian about your ALA intake. None of this means you have to avoid chia seeds completely, but moderation matters, balance matters. For some men, cutting back on plant-based ALA and increasing direct sources of EPA and DHA like fish oil or algae-based supplements can provide more targeted support without the same potential concerns. It's about choosing what your body can use most efficiently and what supports your unique health profile. And that's the key. Your body is not a test subject. It is a living, aging, responsive system. What works for the masses might not work for you. That's not failure. That's wisdom. By asking deeper questions, by paying attention to how even healthy foods interact with your hormones, you take control of your health in a way that lasts. When you think of foods that support digestion, chia seeds are often near the top of the list. They are loaded with fiber, which is supposed to help regulate your system, soften stool, and keep everything moving. Many people with constipation or irregularity turn to chia seeds as a natural fix, and for some, they work. But for others, especially those with sensitive guts, the story is more complicated. Let's talk about what actually happens when you eat chia seeds. These tiny seeds contain a high amount of fiber, and most of it is insoluble. That means it does not dissolve in water like soluble fiber does. Instead, it bulks up and moves through the digestive tract intact. For someone with a healthy gut and good hydration, that bulk can stimulate movement and promote regularity. But for someone with irritable bowel syndrome, slow digestion, or inflammatory conditions like Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis, this extra bulk can feel like a burden, not a relief. I remember working with a gentleman in his late 50s who began adding chia seeds to his breakfast. He had read they would help him feel fuller and improve his digestion. But within a week, he noticed his belly was more swollen. He felt gassy, uncomfortable, and less energetic. He blamed stress at first, then thought maybe he was coming down with something. But when he paused the chia seeds, everything calmed down. What he experienced is not rare. The gel that forms around soaked chia seeds can linger in the intestines longer than expected, especially in people whose digestive systems are already moving slower than average. And there is another issue. Chia seeds are absorbent. That means they pull water into themselves. If you do not drink enough water or soak them properly before eating, they can actually take moisture out of your digestive tract. That leaves less water available to soften stool. In other words, instead of easing constipation, they may worsen it. Especially for older adults who are often chronically underhydrated, this is a problem waiting to happen. In people with inflammatory bowel diseases, the stakes are even higher. The gut lining is already irritated, sometimes even wounded. Adding large amounts of fibrous material that swells and expands can aggravate symptoms. It can increase bloating, trigger cramping, and in some severe cases, even contribute to blockages. I've had patients who needed medical intervention after overdoing chia seeds, thinking they were making a healthy choice. It's not just the texture and water balance that matter. It's also the speed at which we introduce these changes. The gut is a highly sensitive, responsive system. When we make sudden shifts like adding 2 tablespoons of chia seeds overnight, it can cause the system to react. A better approach is always to go slowly. Introduce small amounts. Watch how your body responds. Increase water intake. And if your system pushes back, listen. You see, one of the myths about fiber is that more is always better. That's not true. For many older adults, too much fiber, too fast, can slow things down rather than speed them up. It can lead to pressure, fermentation, and discomfort. I often advise people to focus first on hydration before increasing fiber. Without enough water, fiber can dry and harden in the gut, making everything more difficult. This is where personal observation becomes essential. Notice how your belly feels after you eat. Does it expand? Do you feel light or heavy? Are your stools consistent and easy to pass? If not, it may not be your age or your stress. It might be your fiber load specifically from sources like chia seeds. That does not mean chia seeds are harmful to everyone. In fact, when prepared and introduced properly, they can be a gentle ally. Soak them overnight. Add them to moist foods. Chew them well. Drink extra water. And always consider the state of your gut before assuming a trendy food is a good fit. Because the truth is, digestion is not just about what goes in, it is about what your body is ready to receive. And when you treat your gut with care, it will speak to you more clearly. You will know what works, you will know when to pause, and you will remember that sometimes the quietest changes make the biggest difference. Most people think of chia seeds as harmless. After all, they are small, plant-based, and often grouped with other so-called superfoods like flax and hemp. But for those with seed allergies, these tiny seeds can carry a risk that is both unexpected and serious. The trouble is, many people do not even realize they have a seed allergy until something goes wrong. Let me tell you about a woman I once spoke with. She was in her early 70s, had been eating clean and whole for years. One day, she added chia seeds to her smoothie, just a tablespoon. That afternoon, her mouth felt itchy, her throat scratchy. She brushed it off as allergies from the season. But the next day, she ate the same smoothie again, and this time the reaction was worse. Swelling in the lips, pressure in the chest, and a frightening shortness of breath. She ended up in the emergency room, where doctors told her she had experienced a severe food allergy. The culprit? Chia seeds. You see, chia seeds can cross-react with other seeds like sesame, flax, and mustard. That means if your immune system already recognizes those proteins as threats, it may also treat chia seed proteins as dangerous. The result is an allergic reaction, which can range from mild to life-threatening. And what makes this more dangerous is how quietly it can build. Some people tolerate chia seeds for a while, only to develop a sensitivity over time. Their body begins to see the seed as a foreign invader, and with repeated exposure, the response escalates. The symptoms can be subtle at first: a tingling tongue, a patch of hives, stomach cramps. But for some, it turns into something much more alarming: swollen airways, vomiting, dizziness, even anaphylaxis, a condition where blood pressure drops dangerously and the body enters shock. For older adults, this is especially dangerous. Reaction time is slower. Underlying conditions complicate things. And when you're alone, every second matters. What adds to the problem is that seed allergies are still not well known among the general public. People know about peanut or shellfish allergies, but few consider the seeds they sprinkle on their breakfast as something that could send them to the hospital. That's why awareness matters. Now, how do you know if you're at risk? If you have a history of allergic reactions to seeds, especially sesame, flax, mustard, or tree nuts like hazelnuts, you need to be cautious. Talk to an allergist. You can be tested for cross-reactivity. And if you've ever experienced throat tightness, skin rashes, or breathing changes after eating certain foods, even if it was mild, do not ignore it. Another key step is how you introduce chia seeds. Never start with a full serving. Try a small amount in a well-hydrated form. And observe your body. Allergies do not always show up right away. Sometimes they come hours later or after several exposures. That's why tracking your symptoms and your diet together can reveal patterns that one meal won't show. If you have any doubt, carry an epinephrine injector if advised by your doctor. Better to be prepared and never need it than to be unprepared in a moment of crisis. But perhaps most importantly, remind yourself that choosing not to eat chia seeds is not missing out. There are other ways to get omega-3s and fiber. There are other ways to feel full, to stay regular, and to nourish your heart. Health is not about keeping up with trends. It's about making the choices that fit your unique body. And for those with allergies, that may mean saying no to seeds that others consider safe. That's not a weakness. That's wisdom. Because in the end, nothing is more powerful than knowing what your body can handle and listening when it tries to tell you something. After everything we've explored together, blood pressure, choking risks, prostate concerns, digestive trouble, and allergic reactions may seem like chia seeds are something to fear. But that's not the message I want to leave you with. The truth is, chia seeds are powerful. And like all powerful things in life, they need to be used with respect, not recklessness. For some, chia seeds are an excellent addition. They support heart health, help regulate digestion, and provide a plant-based source of essential fats. But for others especially, those navigating the changes that come with age, they may be too aggressive, too drying, too unpredictable. The key is knowing which person you are, and that comes not from reading a label or copying someone else's routine. It comes from tuning in to your own body. When I was younger, I thought of health as a set of rules. Eat this, avoid that, more vegetables, less fat. But as I got older and worked with people in their 60s, 70s, and beyond, I began to see that health is far more personal. It's not just about what's good in general. It's about what's good for you, your digestion, your circulation, your immune system, your history. Even your personality and stress levels play a role in how your body receives what you eat. That's why I always recommend starting slow. You do not need to overhaul your diet overnight. You do not need to add every superfood in the world to your morning bowl. You need to ask one question: how do I feel after I eat this? That question alone has guided more healing than any trend I've ever seen. If chia seeds work well for you, that's wonderful. Just remember to soak them. Stay hydrated. Listen for any changes in how you feel. And if you're taking medications or managing a chronic condition, bring it up with your healthcare provider. You deserve that conversation. It's not a bother. It's a partnership. If, on the other hand, you've noticed dizziness, bloating, chest tightness, or confusion after meals with chia seeds, it's time to pause. It doesn't mean you're overreacting. It means your body is giving you information. And one of the most powerful things you can do in your 50s, 60s, and 70s is listen. There's something beautiful about reaching a stage of life where you no longer follow food trends blindly. You know your history. You've lived through changes. You've seen what works and what doesn't. So give yourself credit. You don't need to be convinced by every new headline or product on the shelf. You need to be convinced by your body, your gut, your instincts. I often tell people, food is not just fuel. It's communication. It's how your cells respond to the world. And if a certain food makes you feel off, even if it's labeled healthy, that's your clue to reconsider. Not to judge yourself, not to feel behind, just to adjust, gently and wisely. We live in a time where information is everywhere. But wisdom that comes from experience, from attention, from asking better questions. And in the case of chia seeds, the better question isn't, is this good? It's, is this good for me, right now, in this body, at this stage of life? You may find that the answer changes. What worked for you at 40 might not work at 70, and that's okay. Health is not static. It's a lifelong conversation between you and your body. So, whether you keep chia seeds in your pantry or not, I hope this journey has given you something more lasting, a sense of ownership over your health, and a voice that says you are the expert of your own experience. That's not just wellness. That's wisdom. And that, my friend, is something no food label can give you.